It's a huge game on Sunday at the Etihad against Manchester City. An away game for Liverpool, the middle of the three big fixtures that everyone had identified as a stumbling block for Liverpool midway through the season. And what most people had said, if you make it out of that with 7 points, you'll be good. But the stakes are raised. There is a different feeling after the events of midweek against Aston Villa away at Aston Villa. And it's kind of interesting because obviously I didn't do a post-match review after that one. And so reviewing and previewing, the two kind of dovetail together, right? You build off the back of what you reviewed into the preview. I didn't do the review because, well, my family frankly had a bug. And I got back to, well, you just don't want to, you know what I'm saying? And it felt similar to how I think a lot of people felt about Liverpool. That maybe we'd the bed. No one, by the way, in the family had actually done that. That was just a metaphor. That's not actually what had happened. And the weird feeling was, I'm at the game, I'm watching it with a good friend of mine who also supports Liverpool. The comments on social media and the comments at the game were two different reflections, right? And so I was relatively confused. Of course, we knew that there were some really interesting / poor performances from Liverpool. But the feeling from myself, I was watching the Liverpool fans. I wasn't in the Liverpool fans bit because I was a guest of Aston Villa. But the point is that I was watching the Liverpool fans. I was watching the team. And I thought, this isn't as bad as everyone is going to paint this. This isn't as apocalyptic as I know the reaction to drawing 1-1 with Villa is going to be. But there are a lot of naysayers right now. There are a lot of doom-mongerers. That's not even a term. There are a lot of people right now who want to pick out only the negatives. Very few people doing statistical reviews, shout out Chris Pajak, to put into context what it was that Liverpool went through at Villa. Broadly, Liverpool's XG was actually much more healthy than Aston Villa's was. Aston Villa created chances, sure, but in a stadium that's at home and is encouraging and constantly reacting to Villa, on TV, that feels very, oh, there is a momentum here. And don't get me wrong, Villa had momentum at many points during the game. But in a stadium where I can hear the Liverpool fans for almost the entirety of the game, it didn't feel that way in person. That's good, first of all. Secondly, Liverpool will have gone back to their training ground and the analytics team will have walked in and gone, guys, you know, the XG in this game, guys, you know, the chances we create, guys, you know. They will have contextualized all of the hardship that Liverpool fans are portraying online right now. They will have put all of that into a nice report, handed it to Arne Slot and said, go in there and buoy these players with this, mate. Because changing the tactics, changing the shape, changing the way that the players pressed, changing the shape in which we decided to match up to Villa made a big difference in that game. It confused the opposition. I think it bamboozled Emery for quite a lot of the game. And even though they worked out ways to get through the midfield, even though there were multiple times where I felt that Konate and Van Dijk were called upon, that's kind of what we rely on in this system. And believe me, that's not going to change against Man City. Man City's midweek events against Real Madrid are not good news for Liverpool. A, because they're out of another competition, so they don't have to worry about that fitness-wise. B, because they will have walked away from that thinking, right, we need a bounce back here. And C, because if you perform badly against a top side in Europe and then you have another top side immediately after, you have an immediate punchback. We're not facing the same Man City side that we faced at Anfield earlier in the season. I was at that game. They were a shell of their previous selves. Now, they've had that shell performance. But equally, I think that when you have a team like City and the quality is in that side, there is clearly preparation going on Man City's behalf for the Liverpool game, not the Real Madrid game. And again, Pep overthought it or underthought it or cooked it or overcooked it in the Real Madrid performance. That's not the same dynamic in this Premier League game. There is a long-term relationship between Liverpool and Man City. The Man City-Real Madrid relationship is a much shorter-term kind of built-up weird rivalry that we haven't really gotten to terms with yet, right? This Liverpool one, this is long. And the relationship between Pep Guardiola and Slot is actually quite an interesting one as well. Obviously, between Klopp and Guardiola, it was a little bit different. There was that mutual respect. There was the you're a big hitter, I'm a big hitter. We've found ways to undermine your system. You found ways to undermine ours. We've had big score. There was all these different, like, what's it going to be today? We didn't know if we were going to turn up and see a 0-0. We didn't know if we were going to turn up and see a well-fought game of football. We didn't know if we were going to turn up and see an absolute thrashing on either one of these sides, because both of those have been handed out either way. But between Slot and Guardiola, Slodiola, doesn't matter. There is a new dynamic forming. First of all, almost park that previous City game. That's just not going to happen again. Marmoush will be in the starting lineup, most probably. And if Marmoush is in the starting lineup and Haaland isn't, cool. Gives Liverpool certainly a dynamic that I worry about a little bit more. Although what I will admit is, in previous games when we had Haaland to worry about on his own, when we had like just Haaland to worry about, that felt a little more reassuring. I felt like Konate and Van Dijk could almost deal with that, or they could minimise that to the degree where you sort of go, okay, well let me just turn you a little bit because the wind is so bad up here. I'm really worried my camera's going to fall forward. How's that for setting the camera quickly, eh, boys? Unbelievable. Anyway. Do you understand what I'm saying now? There you go. Deal with that, wind. Anyway, yes, there will be some people who have not reacted particularly well to the performance in the midweek. Yes, I've done a whole other video on Núñez. I'll cover that in that video. Go and see that. It's obviously an interesting video. I was at the game, all these kind of things. But there were lots of really good performances within that Liverpool lineup. Alisson will be disappointed to concede the 2 goals that he conceded, because they were 2 really, one of them was just kind of an unlucky one and the other one was a really high-class header. He can't do much about those, so he's just going to be disappointed that there wasn't much he could do about those. In other points in the game, Alisson proved why he's Alisson. He kept us in that game. He was commanding in the box when we need to be on set pieces. He stopped multiple times where the players were through and there was a one-on-one. That's what Alisson does, right? Van Dijk will be disappointed. I think so will Konate about the other day. And I think our 2 fullbacks, most of all, were most disappointed. That's where Pep is going to target us. Savinho, Foden, all these other new wing types that we're bringing in at Man City, they will all be raining down on Liverpool's goal. Marmoush will be running into that difficult area for Liverpool. He'll be running into that area just outside the box where, you know, you see the gap between the midfield and the defence. That's going to be tricky for us, and they're going to plug that midfield. They're going to make it really difficult. If they can get Nico on the field, then they will, and I think that's going to change the game for them. If they can't, I think we dominate the midfield and we win the game because we'll have dominated that midfield. Similar to the Aston Villa game, if we can, it's not about dominating in the sense of like every tackle must be won, though that obviously helps. I just don't think that's very realistic in modern Premier League games. The quality is such that it really is 50-50 when you're going into a tackle. It's not like that was a 50-50. It doesn't matter who the 2 players are. The quality of the players now decides that these tackles are 50-50 because there is such quality and technical ability that is it going to be a free kick? Is it going to be a foul? Is it going to be that this one particular player dips a shoulder and walks away? There are multiple different outcomes now that I think weren't really available to managers in previous seasons because not everyone had that technical ability. They're a lot more technically limited in what they could do. And so the brilliant technical sides obviously ran away with this. What Liverpool find themselves up against is also a back line, I think, of, you know, a fairly large team now. You're looking at Diaz, you're looking at Ake, you're looking at Guardiola, and then at right back, you're looking at their new signing. Let me just bring up his name. I just really want to bring up his name just so that I don't get it wrong. Kushinov. Kushinov, by the way, I think is a real quality player. And I think the real worry for Liverpool is obviously Guardiola versus Salah. Salah actually had a relatively good game against Villa, obviously, because of his statistics. I think statistically he had a good game, but it's another one where one-on-oneing players didn't really work. So we had to have the overlap. And this is where I guess my worry comes, right? I don't want this Liverpool team to burn out, but I'm watching as we couldn't really bring Tsimikas on because that wouldn't have offered what we needed the other day in the game, right? Ultimately, obviously, you end up bringing Tsimikas on because of the fitness of Robertson. We obviously would want to bring Bradley on because Bradley is very high quality, but we don't want to have to take Trent off and lose the ability of Trent Alexander-Arnold, the reading of the game. But it's very clear that Trent is not at full fitness right now. It's very clear that he is carrying some form of long-form problem long-term problem that we have to address. And I'm not sure that we can do mid-season because we need the personnel. Seemingly to me, when I look at Trent Alexander-Arnold right now, I see a similar figure to the one of David Beckham. A highly talented, very physically gifted, injured man who needs to be gotten through game by game by game. At the time with David Beckham, it was injections. I don't know what it would be now with Trent Alexander-Arnold because I'm not a doctor. But it worries me because these are very key roles in a slot system. These are, and obviously we found that, like the brilliant players that we have, we've been lucky enough that there have been moments where that has really clicked for us. But there have also been a lot of moments where those people have been caught out. Where having a basic, no-nonsense defender in that position almost would have benefited us against having a generational talent on either side that is currently struggling with the way that their body works, right? That's the struggle for me. And I think that leaves us in a position where the fans that go to the games, the away fans, they'll be there through thick and thin. They have been there through thick and thin. If anything, I think the away fans have really done a good job in getting Darwin Núñez through these games. I spoke about that in the Darwin Núñez video. The online fans are the people that are the problem. The chronically critical people of Darwin Núñez, I'm not talking about people who run analysis channels and run, forums or whatever. I'm talking about the cheap shot, low rent clippers who are just looking to put out as much content as possible and go just for banter mates, just for what? If Darwin Núñez can't survive in this environment, then where can he survive? Maybe he's not a top end footballer. Maybe he's someone who's struggling to adapt to the lifestyle of one of these footballers. And as fans, we shouldn't be posting clips online which show an AI version of Mo Salah saying derogatory things, not only about him, but about Jota as well. And there are Liverpool fan pages. I got into that in the other video. We'll get into that another time. I just cannot believe that we're seeing this in our own fan base at the moment, guys. There are the internet. It doesn't matter. I'll get back to that on that other video. Just go watch it. It's interesting because I feel like the one time that I have a media degree is relevant. Anyway, Darwin Núñez will not start this game. If Darwin Núñez starts this game, I will be shocked, all right? I think Jota starts this game. I think, contrary to popular belief, I think Jota had quite a good game. I think Szoboszlai had quite a good game. People read people on whether they've finished the tackle, whether it's 100% of that action. This is where stats serially let us down, where public stats seriously let the Liverpool team down. Because the exhaustion of playing Liverpool and the exhausting nature of playing for Liverpool is something which means that it is a constant game of attrition between Slot and everyone else. And at this point in the season, that's going to play out even more because your weaknesses are magnified due to players being more tired. Your system becomes first of all, the players are a lot more used to playing it, but the opposition players that are playing it are also a lot more used to playing their system, so they're going to play into their own strengths. It becomes this dynamic of like who can capitalize on their system quicker and then double down and stop that. Liverpool did very well actually against Aston Villa side, who very much played into that dynamic around Liverpool. And then it also becomes about the brilliant individual moments. Mo Salah, Diogo Jota. Cody Gakpo is not going to be available, I don't think, on Sunday. I think if we start him, it would be a big surprise to me. He's not trained with the team, as Slot said, nor is Conor Bradley. Obviously, we've still got to assess Conor Bradley, and nor is Joe Gomez. So what we're looking at is a back line where I think at different points, if Trent isn't fit enough to start, and if Bradley is not fit enough to start, we'll see Curtis Jones at right back, which would be fascinating. And weirdly, I think it was Sam Maguire who made that call ages ago that we will see Curtis Jones starting at right back at some point for Liverpool, because we have seen it before, but you get my point. Virgil van Dijk, Konate, Robertson, midfield three of our regular starters. I think you could make a very good argument as to why Curtis Jones would start in the midfield if he didn't need to start at right back in this game. And then you'll see Salah, Jota, Diaz. In a game like this, I actually quite like to start Gakpo, but it is what it is. It's a really tricky one. And I'm almost so glad that it is away from Anfield here. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say. I think the away fans really buoy this Liverpool team. I think Liverpool have a great relationship with these away fans. The away fans at Man City will be sat up in like the gods. I remember sitting there for that Champions League game where we went through and we'd won 3-0 at Anfield. We needed to go away and get a result. We got the result that we needed. We didn't get the win that we needed, but we got the result that we needed. And that's the dynamic that we're going to see playing out here. that Liverpool team play to their away fans. It's partly why I think the Brentford result happened. And it's partly why I think we probably will see Núñez play for a small period on Sunday. We probably will see Slot back his boys. Because frankly, we don't have another option. There isn't another striker up front. You couldn't bring someone in January. And what we need to do now is double down and get behind these guys rather than working out, was the system working when Szoboszlai played here? When this DM was McAllister in the right? Doesn't matter. At this point in the season, it's not about going into this deep level of analysis and criticism. The analysis is fine. The criticism is the problem. And saying, is he the long-term solution? No, it doesn't matter what those people are. You have these people after the January transfer window, you stick with them, you double down, you back them, they're our boys. Doesn't matter otherwise. So against Man City, against Newcastle, honestly, it does not matter whether you rate Darwin Núñez or not. He's one of our choices off the bench. We don't have an Omar Marmoush. We didn't spend 200 million in January. But that's kind of the point here, is the 200 million that Man City spent in January will be evident on the field on Sunday. It will be very different to the dynamic that we saw at Anfield, is what the broad point I'm making here. And Liverpool need to win this game, because for me, the minimum that we could make it through this period with was 7 points out of 9 in order to keep Arsenal at arm's length. Now, if we make it through with 5, that will be 4 points that we would have foregone in a period where we needed more than that. 4 points, because we would have drawn. And losing to City, I'll be honest, really is not an option this Sunday for Liverpool. I mean, it is certainly an option. It's kind of like that thing on the menu where you go, well, I never have the steak tartare. I always have the steak tartare. I never have the steak tartare because I don't want it. Because I'm having steak as my main. I'm the kind of person that goes steak tartare starter, steak tartare main. I'm that kind of risk taker, both of them rare. Obviously the steak tartare is super rare. Anyway, the message here, and I think the message broadly should be back in the boys. There have been days of social media wrangling and stupid comments and all these things, all in the other video. The rest of the side played well. Our XG was better than theirs, our statistics were better than theirs, they were at home, all these kind of things. I'll finish on this. There was a really good piece in the Ian Graham book where Ian basically says playing away from home is like playing against a side that has Lionel Messi in the starting 11. That's the difference statistically that playing at home makes in most games, right? City plus Lionel Messi, that's basically City plus Omar Marmoush plus all the other new strikers and everything else that they have, right? It's a huge game and they're going to want to hurt us. They're going to want to stop and hinder our title challenge. I mean, I know that obviously Man City fans were saying, oh, well, after the Arsenal game, blah, blah, blah. That doesn't happen in the moment. That doesn't happen when we're playing City and they remember, oh, it's the Scousers, they're back. So just remember that come Sunday. It's a massive game. And we're playing a side that are very hurt. You do not want to play animals that are hurt. When they're cornered, when they're injured, when they're sick, that's when they lash out. And when their team get back on the roll, when it goes from the extreme pain that a professional will have felt to the extreme pleasure of scoring a goal against those teams, when you have something to fight for, then see what happens. Equally, the pain that Liverpool will have felt at Villa, the fact that Slot came out and made those comments, said what he said about the performance, said what he said about Núñez, said what he said about the overall experience and the chances we actually did create, leads me to think that this team is also feeling very similar to the way that Man City were feeling, with almost less justification because we actually put in a pretty good performance against Aston Villa, a side who are very good at tactically undermining opposition players. So let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know where your analysis, where your head is at, and I'll chat to you on the flip side. Appreciate you guys. Much love. Bye.